Okay, well, I'm going by this clock and it's now 11:30, so I am going to call to order the Tuesday, August 22nd Legislative Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Member Chapman? Here. Member Childress?
Yes.
Chair Desar? Here. Member Eckhart?
Here.
Member Glasky?
Here.
Member Zay?
Here.
Thank you very much. All right, we do have a quorum, and I move to approve the minutes of the Legislative
Second.
Committee meeting from Tuesday, May 23rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. I do not have chair's remarks because I told you I'd keep it super quick, as quick as we possibly can. But I will say that our next meeting, I believe it's September 26th, we're going to have speakers. We'll have Mark Ayers here from the Illinois Humane Society, and we'll also have our state lobbyists here. You talk, well, not here, maybe on Zoom, to talk about the veto session, the fall veto session. So that's coming up in September. Can I get a motion for the procurement requirements? 6A is LEG-R-0038-23. Motion by member Chaplin, second by member Childress. And before I take a vote, I do have comments on this. Does anybody else have comments on this first? Okay, my comments, I kind of did a tease in the county board meeting that only of 102 Illinois counties, only 9 have Illinois General Assembly lobbyists, and those 9 are Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kankakee, Kendall, Lake, McLean, Peoria, and Will counties, and only 4 have federal lobbyists, and those are Cook, DuPage, Kendall, and Will. So that makes us feel pretty comfortable in the power that we have in Springfield. But on this afternoon's agenda, I ask for your favorable consideration of resolutions to renew our 2 state lobbying firms, Chip Humes of Roger Marquardt and Company, and Dave Sullivan and Mark Polis of Rauchi and Sullivan Strategies. I think you will agree that they have done an excellent job of keeping us informed throughout the year on state issues with regular written reports and participation at our legislative committee meetings. They are accessible and have the relationships and possess the knowledge and experience necessary to advance county priorities in Springfield. It's important to have a strong team in place who can react quickly to provide our delegation and other members of the General Assembly with the information they need to make a quick decision as to how to vote on an issue impacting the county. For example, this past session, legislators supporting the puppy mill industry continually posted 1-hour committee meetings, amendments, and other items in an effort to repeal the current statute we all worked so hard to pass several years ago. Our lobbyists acted quickly in these instances to defeat these attempts to repeal that legislation. During the year, our team also assists county staff to help resolve issues with multiple state agencies, including IDOT, the EPA, DNR, IDOR, DCEO, etc., and the governor's office. They've also provided a summary of this year's legislative accomplishments, which include a 1-year increase in the local government distributed fund, or LGDF, from 6.16% of state income tax proceeds to 6.47%, resulting in an additional $897,000 in revenues to DuPage County for state fiscal year 2024. That's huge. They've also provided an additional $400,000 in state capital dollars to support construction of the Health Department's Crisis Recovery Center. That's huge. Other things that our lobbyists have helped bring to DuPage County: a $250,000 grant for the DuPage Care Center Foundation, a one-time state tourism grant for the DuPage County Convention and Visitors Bureau in the amount of $625,000 for state fiscal year 2024. After several years, they've secured final passage of the state attorney's Animal Cruelty and Forfeiture Bill, SB 1499, which provides penalties for specified offenses and permanent relinquishment of animals, in some cases as determined by court. They've also supported the Illinois Humane Society to pass a number of animal protection bills, including HB 3236 that closed a loophole to prohibit the financing of dog and cat purchases, SB 1882 that places restrictions on dog and cat testing, and SB 1883 that prohibits direct contact by the public with wild animals. They've worked as part of a coalition to extend the sunset on the 911 Emergency Telephone System Act until December 31st, 2025, and the $1.50 per line wireless surcharge that funds ETSP. They supported a number of environmental proposals that were adopted, including HB 2086, which allows consumers to provide their own to-go containers, SB 40 that requires new single-family homes to have electric vehicle charging capability, SB 836 that establishes the Paint Stewardship Act, and SB 1555, which creates the statewide recycling needs assessment. Chair Conroy, in conclusion, Chair Conroy and I would appreciate your favorable support of these two contracts. Any other comments about the first contract? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to move to accept LEG-R-0039-23, a recommendation for the approval of a contract to Roger C. Marquardt and Company to provide consulting services as lobbyists representing DuPage County for the Illinois General Assembly and State Executive Branch for the period of September 15th, 2023 through September 14th, 2024 for County Board for a contract total amount not to exceed $90,000 of the professional services not subject to competitive bidding per 55 ILCS 5/5-1022A. So I made the motion. Mr. Zay made the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Questions, comments?
Sorry, please forgive my ignorance, but the question is, there are two different companies for two different sets of lobbyists, and I guess I kind of wanted to know why we were using two different companies.
That's a great question.
And also why the amounts of money that we're paying to them are also very different. There's a 40,000 disparity. So
Okay, we've kept the amount of money we're paying each lobbyist the same. And maybe Jason can answer more thoroughly, but my understanding is that each lobbyist focuses on different things. Like I know, for example, Mark Polis, who I've known for years, he's really into road construction, infrastructure, that sort of thing. Maybe you could talk more.
No, you're spot on. Mark Pulse does most of our transportation and some of our larger grant aspects of that, whereas you have the other company does a lot more of our actually lobbying with the General Assembly, going on each bill and whatnot. So I can get you a more comprehensive background to that, but that's essentially the reason. One does a specific aspect of it, the other does everything else for us.
I know from personally, if I were going to be talking to somebody about the puppy mill situation, I'd be calling Chip. If I were going to be talking to somebody about DOT, it would be Mark Polis.
It's just a matter of the connections they have and the people they work with, so different entities.
I will add the fact that we have had legislation before as well as grants where they have teamed up to be able to talk to and discuss with, because they both have, as Jason said, different connections. And we have been very successful with teaming them up to tackle a specific issue.
Can either of you speak to the fact that one gets $40,000 more than the other?
I can't, but I believe it's a matter of devoted time, if I remember correctly. But I can get you the exact reason for the differential.
What you said before with it is the same, the funding level that we've done, that is correct. I think it has to do with the level of effort that is needed and how much we utilize them. And I think over time, it's kind of, this is what has worked out for the county. I know Cheryl absolutely looks at that very closely.
We can make sure she gets the specifics of that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Member Guston?
Do we know how many different municipalities, villages that they do represent? I know the one actually represents the city of Naperville too. Or do we know how many lobbyist companies there are out there? Maybe there's only a handful and you get what you get.
For the municipal side, no, I would not be able to, off the top of my head, give you a comprehensive list of how many clients they have and whatnot, but they are registered to the Secretary of State, so that's something we can look at. As for the amount of lobbyists, again, that's all registered to the Secretary. I don't know that off the top of my head. I know there's a lot.
Oh, okay.
A lot of lobbyists register. I don't know specific to municipality if dives down them, I would have to double check. I don't know off the top of my head though.
Great, thank you.
I know in the board packet, they had a whole brochure in there. And I think in the brochure, it lists several of their municipalities and other places where other entities for whom they lobby. I don't know if it lists
Yeah.
all of them though.
That's just their
Porter
company.
and company definitely has a fully, a nice list here, and if you need it, I have it sitting right here.
Yeah, no, I saw that, I just didn't.
But no,
Yeah.
specifically, I couldn't tell you, I know there's a lot of lobbyists out there, I couldn't give you a number just off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay, that motion passes. And I know that we have do we have any old business? Members A.
Yeah, I know we have a veto coming up. I know transportation has talked about possibly exploring registration for electric vehicles. So I think it's something, I have some people looking into it. Right now, we have about 10,000 electric vehicles in DuPage County. They don't pay anything. They're heavier than regular vehicles. They don't pay any more fuel tax. The state, I think when they buy the car, I think it's 110, 150, something like that. That state gets the money, we get nothing. So while as electric vehicles keep growing, I'd rather see if we could do some kind of registration for them. With a nominal amount, we can figure it out for electric vehicle or a hybrid and figure that out. I'd rather do it when there's 10,000 cars than 100,000 cars. And our roads are falling apart because the more fuel tax is going down and down, and we've got more electric vehicles on there. It's just something to start thinking about.
Absolutely, and you brought that up before too. So I'm wondering if we should start getting these, our ideas together, if there are any issues or legislation that you'd like to get together for the fall veto session, start moving along with those ideas. Before I move on to Member Chaplin, you had some other thoughts? You had two other things?
Yeah,
I was just gonna add on
Oh.
to the electric vehicle.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry, okay.
my son just bought an electric vehicle. So his license plates were $400. So I don't know if they're taking that $400, all that money is probably going to the state then.
Yeah.
We get
Correct. We don't.
Right, so maybe what we do is we see if we can siphon off some of that $400 from the license plate through the state, or, maybe do another little fee on there. right?
I like your
I
optimism.
know, I like to be optimistic, or something, or like a $25 fee or something like that.
Something just
'cause it
have
is
to
already-
start a discussion on, because it's
Yeah,
gonna
absolutely.
continue.
Because it is already
Absolutely.
$400 for the license plate, and that's every year, so, yeah.
And on
Member
that
Benson.
point, there's actually extenuating things to consider also, because once these electric vehicles are in residential properties, there's transformers that supply the electric to different subdivision, different areas. The older the transformer, the less it can accommodate. So then now you're spending $60,000 to $80,000 to change out transformers to accommodate the new electric vehicle. So not only is there a road expense in the future, but there's also some upgrades in the electrical system expenses. So getting some type of registration of some sort to be able to offset that expense is a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, other comments or questions about the electric vehicle? Okay, any,
Yeah, I have
Other-
one other thing, just a heads up. We're gonna be looking for some support. The DuPage Water Commission has been in negotiations with the city of Chicago for a new contract for the last 4 years. It's not going well. It's, the contract ends in March of 2024. We have to give them notice September if we're gonna renew or not, which we have to, obviously. But what we're looking at is the county, the Water Commission has done its own study about getting our own source outside the water, the city of Chicago. Seems to be picking up steam. So what we're gonna look at is the legislation that Joliet just passed on the Water Act that gave them the ability to form a new and do water. We're gonna look to tie into that and give us the same ability. We think we have it, but just in case we wanna know, so.
I remember reading about it in the Chicago Tribune, and I was trying to see if I bookmarked the article, I did not, but you can Google.
It hasn't been going well, and we'll give an update at some point, maybe Public Works, but I mean, they gave Joliet this cost of service model, they're not giving it to us. We have a favored nation status in ours, and they're doing it on cost of service. Well, Lexington, which pumps only water to us, they've done zero. They've done about 2% capital improvements in the last 30 years on it. We have $16 million worth of needs that are imminent that we won't be able to pump water. They won't be able to pump water to us. And so we told them this is what we need. We'd like Lexington in return. So now all of a sudden they went out for a cost of service model for their entire system, which is the cribs, which haven't been touched in 100 years, Jardine, all their plants. So when they say the water is only going to be half of what we're charging you now, they're gonna come back and say, we've got $200 million worth of, changes and upgrades we have to do to our system, which means our cost is never gonna go down. It's only gonna continue to go up. And if you don't know, we pay them $120 million a year for their largest revenue source for the city, outside of their motor fuel tax, everything else. So they haven't been playing well, and they just assume we're gonna do it. So we're just looking for that legislation. We're gonna go to mayors and managers, obviously the county too, to help on that.
Well, I know that Joliet was running out of water and they did a huge project to figure out what to do. And they finally went with Chicago, Lake Michigan Water.
We were in
And
that
so were they
discussion,
getting-
we were in that
Oh, okay.
discussion originally. And we pulled out because once the city got in, I can't sell them water cheaper than the city, obviously, because they're selling it to us. But they're about 10 to 12 years away from getting that system up.
Member Chaplin?
So, thank you. So to that point, Jim, I thought I had read somewhere though that they said, once Joliet gets on the water, that they were gonna reduce everybody's speed to the same as Joliet. That's what I thought I had read in one of the articles. Did I read
Well, I'm
that?
saying it's a cost of service model. But Joliet takes water from a different area than we do.
Okay,
Okay, so it's smoke and mirrors at its best. I mean, when they're gonna come out, like I said, $16 million of upfront, Liz, you were there,
I know.
the emergency generators, we couldn't even get an updated maintenance schedule. They weren't even working, and that we paid for. The solar field that they had to have it output about 25%. I mean, the building's falling apart. I mean, it's a lot out there, and the city, Jardine's the largest purification, they have done nothing down there. I mean, it's falling apart, and we've paid them billions of dollars. I mean, they're all excited about Joliet, which is great. I'm glad Joliet's getting water. But Joliet, with their group that's in there, they're gonna pump about 30 million gallons a day. We're 81 million gallons a day. So we're almost 3 times their size. We're their largest customer.
Yeah.
And they won't negotiate. They just keep pushing it down the line. So, I mean, we'll probably ultimately renew our old contract where we have most favored nation state. We're not gonna worry about this cost of service because it would be crazy to do a cost of service contract with them when they can't even give you what the figures are, what the cost of service is gonna be. But
When is
again,
the
it might
contract
not
up?
pass, but this is a shot across the bow.
When is the contract up? How long do we have?
March of 2024. We have to give them 6 months notice that we're gonna renew, which is September 19th of 2023.
Oh, wow.
And we've been in negotiations, and it says you have to start 5 years prior. We started 5 years prior. In the meantime, our contract with our customers, the county, everybody else, is up in February.
Right.
So Nick sat on the work group. We've basically cleaned the contract out, the old stuff, have it ready to go, but we can't really do anything until the city does something. So they have this kind of in a quagmire.
All right, any other new business? Didn't you have one more thing?
I had one more thing on new business. It's kind of weird, but we have 4 county board members that have still a pension. And we have to fill out a timesheet, a monthly timesheet, and turn it in to IMRF, turn it in to county turns it in. We're the only elected officials in the state of Illinois that have to do a timesheet. I think that's kind of crazy. And if we don't turn it in, after 2 months, we lose our pension. So I mean, it's kind of a weird piece of legislation. Huh?
Give up the pension then.
Well, I mean, I can do the timesheet, but originally when they did it, it was supposed to be township officials, everybody that signs that 1,000 hours, but this and that. And all of a sudden it got down to DuPage County board members. We're the only ones on the piece of legislation. So
So you'd like the legislative committee
if we look into it and see, I mean, how hard it would be to repeal that, I don't know. Just kind of strange we're the only elected officials in the state that have to do that. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, badge of courage, but I mean,
a badge of courage?
Yeah.
You're getting a pension.
I feel like, I know, but I feel like, I feel like Grant, I gotta sit there and write, and I got a book by my desk, and okay, let's see, insurance Zoom meeting, 48 minutes, so.
Is that why, when I promised you this would be a short meeting, that you are the one
I'm
extending
stretching
it?
you right now, I
So
wanna
you
get 20 minutes.
All right, guys. Any other new business?
That's why I Zoom in meetings too, 'cause
All right, without objection, we're adjourned.
Thank
Thank you.